It's a new year, and that means it's time for a new marathon. For the next couple weeks, I'm going to be reviewing every single Sonic game on the Sega Genesis. Except for this one. And this one. And that one. And that one. And that one. And that one. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Golden Bolt. This time around we're going to look at the game that started it all, Sonic 1 on the Sega Genesis, also known as the Sega Mega Drive if you're wrong. That's going to be really controversial, I'm going to take that back. And if you're wondering what I'm wearing for this marathon, my friend got me these and told me to wear them for this, so gotta go fast. The Blue Blur's life began around 1990 when Sega requested a new game out of one of its in-house development teams, known at the time as Sega AM8. However, the people at Sega felt that the company needed a new mascot, as the current mascot, Alex Kidd, simply wasn't faring too well compared to Mario. So, Sega started a competition between designers to see who could create a character strong enough to be the face of the company. Around the same time, an engine prototype was being created by programmer Yuji Naka, who wanted to design the game with an emphasis on speed. Eventually, the mascot options were whittled down to animals that were thought of as fast to match this. The winning design, created by Naoto Oshima, depicted a blue hedgehog named Sonic. He had sharp teeth, a human girlfriend named Madonna, and a rock band for some reason. According to Oshima, he actually created Sonic by combining aspects of both Felix the Cat and Mickey Mouse. However, the teeth, Madonna, and the rock band were eventually cut as the character was sculpted to become more appealing to a worldwide audience. Once the design was finalized, the team, now named Sonic Team, worked tirelessly on the game for months, going through constant testing and redesigning. Naka wanted this game to be as simple as Mario, if not simpler, but he also wanted to set the bar for platformers by putting extra focus on momentum, since he felt Mario was just too slow at times. Sonic Team implemented features at the time thought impossible, such as the rotating special stages or the ability for Sonic to perfectly circle around curves. However, Naka didn't receive much credit for his innovations, as his relationship with Sega of Japan had quickly soured. Shortly after the game was finished, he left the company. Sonic the Hedgehog was released worldwide in the summer of 1991 with a massive marketing campaign. Sega of America went right at Nintendo's throat, with commercials slamming Mario for being too kiddie and pushing Sonic as the next big thing. Along with this, they bundled the game with the Sega Genesis and dropped the price of the console $50 to $149.99. This blitzkrieg strategy worked, with the Genesis doubling the Super Nintendo sales during the 1991 holiday season. The Genesis even overtook the Super Nintendo in overall market share. For a short while, gaming had a new king. Continuing the trend of the classic 2D platformers that I've reviewed thus far, I won't be rating the story of the Genesis Sonic games. The story wasn't designed as a focal point, and as such, I feel no need to score it like one. The game follows everybody's favorite blue hedgehog as he tries to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik from obtaining the 7 Chaos Emeralds, which, when assembled, hold unspeakable powers. Well, actually, in this game there are only 6, it's only in later games that the 7th Chaos Emerald shows up. So why'd they hide the 7th one in this game? Well, I found the 7th Chaos Emerald. I may as well put it with the others and see what happens, I guess. To push towards his goals of world domination, Robotnik has trapped the animals of South Island inside his army of robots and these big capsules. Now it's up to Sonic to save his animal buddies and retrieve the Chaos Emeralds. That's about all there is to it, although the game does have marginally different endings based on whether or not you get all 6 emeralds. Sonic, in a nutshell, is a momentum-based 2D platformer. As he moves through the game's 6 distinct zones, each split into 3 different levels known as acts, Sonic can jump on enemies in springs, all the while collecting rings that function as his health. When he gets hit, Sonic's rings go flying everywhere, and if he gets hit when he has no rings, he loses a life. On paper, that sounds pretty run-of-the-mill. What really makes Sonic stand out, though, is that the level design puts heavy emphasis on rounded terrain. Now, what I mean by rounded terrain is that, compared to the other platformers of the era, Sonic is the one that really pushed beyond the flat, blockier level design popularized by the Mario franchise. Instead, Sonic Team put a lot of focus on curves, loops, and fluidity. This is shown off immediately and perfectly in Green Hill Zone, the game's opening stage. Right off the bat, the player can see slight bumps and valleys accentuating what would be in any other game flat land. Right away, you can tell Sonic is different. The level design opens up quickly with Sonic running up and down hills, spinning through loops, and bouncing off of enemies, all the while his speed increasing dynamically based on the player's performance. He can even curl into a ball while moving to pick up even more speed. Where Mario traditionally used two buttons, a jump button and a button the player could hold down to run faster, Sonic only needs to jump as the player implicitly decides what speed he or she wants to move at. It's simple for those that want or require simple, but complex for those looking for more. And I've gotta say, this really works, and Green Hill Zone shines as one of the best designed openings in gaming as a result. The thrill you get from speeding through levels is wonderful. The levels really focus on this sense of momentum, and from start to finish, the game just never Wait, hold on, what's going on here? Am I waiting? Why am I waiting? This is Sonic, I wanna go fast! I've gotta go fast! What? Let me backtrack a bit. If Green Hill Zone is one of the best openings in gaming, I have to note that it's also one of the worst teases in gaming history as well. That sense of speed, that thought out level design, that doesn't really exist after Green Hill Zone. Immediately after the fast-paced, player-friendly, well-designed opening levels, Sonic moves on to Marble Zone, potentially one of the slowest areas in the entire franchise. It's a zone defined by waiting on blocks as they slowly pass through lava, a zone with several opportunities to be crushed to death out of nowhere, a zone where one tiny rookie mistake is the difference between surviving and getting a game over and being sent right back to Green Hill Zone. And once you finally trek through Marble Zone, you enter Spring Yard Zone, another zone with a decent amount of speed but also a good amount of waiting. This time there are also springs everywhere to knock Sonic around like a pinball, and after Spring Yard is Labyrinth Zone, which is full of death traps, cheap hits, slow, molasses-like water physics, ironically blocky platforming, and the constant fear that you're going to drown because you can't make it to the next air bubble in time. God, why? Who thought this was a good idea? I'm not trying to be the usual critic here and argue that Sonic has to go fast. He doesn't necessarily, but when the game is marketed with things like blast processing, where they're implying the game is faster, more in your face, and thus better than something like Mario, it would be nice if, there wasn't any of this. I wouldn't even want this level design in any platformer, but it's especially heinous in a game that's allegedly designed with speed in mind. Pardon the pun, but I feel blue-balled when I'm playing Sonic 1. When distributed evenly and more importantly well, slower, more methodical sections in Sonic are totally okay, and in fact they're necessary to make you appreciate the fast sections more. But I can't appreciate the speedy sections when I know they're sandwiched by so much slow. Speaking of speedy sections, the only other truly fast level comes after Labyrinth Zone, and that's Starlight Zone, which pretty much plays itself. Green Hill does such a great job at teaching the player that speed is a reward for playing well, but pretty much the entire rest of the game spits in the face of that mentality. I'm not even going to go into detail on Scrap Brain Zone, which is just full of more spots where Sonic can get crushed, bottomless pits to fall in, and all that fun stuff. And I haven't even mentioned that this game doesn't have invincibility frames when Sonic collides with spikes, so you can actually get juggled into death sometimes. To move beyond these glaring flaws with the game's pacing, there are definitely some other positives. Personally, I really enjoy this game's boss fights against Robotnik. Yeah, they're mostly super easy, but they're unique and often use some gimmicks introduced earlier in the zone, which helps everything come together nicely. On top of this, the game's levels are full of secrets such as extra lives, boxes of rings, or power-ups like a temporary speed boost or a shield to give Sonic an extra hit. Even better, the levels often have multiple paths that players can take depending on their skill level. More dedicated players may replay the game again and again and again, trying to stay on the challenging uppermost path in order to finish levels faster, get a higher score, and find more hidden bonuses. And if players can manage to finish a level while holding on to at least 50 rings, they can jump into this bonus ring to get a shot at the special stages. These are a series of 6 trippy mazes where the stage rotates on its own and players must guide Sonic through them in order to grab the Chaos Emerald at the end. I'm admittedly not very good at these. I do have to note that it definitely won't help new players that these walls say goal on them because they're actually how you lose the special stage, since you really only win these stages by collecting the emerald, but whatever, I guess. They also said this game was fast and, well... Now look, I really don't want to hold Sonic to a different standard than other platformers just because of this whole speed thing, but because of the design and marketing behind this game, I feel like I have to. With Sonic, I get such a rush from moving quickly through stages that when I'm forced to stop and plod sluggishly through a level and wait constantly, it just kills the experience to me. Playing a Sonic game is like driving a car. If you're free to speed down the highway, it can be a thrilling ride, but if you're bogged down in traffic, you just want to bash your head in. Sonic 1 is, simply put, pretty much all traffic. The mechanics themselves aren't very polished, and the level design sure as hell isn't. Even Green Hill, as much as I've been praising it, has poorly thought out sections like this part where you can obtain the invincibility power up and then immediately fall into a pit of spikes that will kill you anyway. For all of its flaws, I can't give the gameplay of Sonic 1 anything beyond a bronze bolt. But I will spoil my score for the presentation, which is without a doubt a golden bolt. Oh, I didn't know we were actually gonna do the ding and whatever. Sonic 1 is gorgeous. The enemy designs are super unique, and if for no other reason, I look forward to progressing in this game to see the different enemy types that pop up from zone to zone. Sonic's design gives off a little bit of that 90s attitude that he'd come to be known for. I mean, he'll even tap his feet impatiently if he's just standing still for too long. That's perfect. The animations of everything from Sonic to Robotnik's different machines, hell to even the level backgrounds themselves is beautiful. Speaking of the backgrounds, the parallax scrolling is pretty much perfect, really helping to sell Sonic's speed to the player. No two zones look even remotely alike, and a ton of effort clearly went into ensuring that. And I can't talk about a Sonic game without discussing the music. The music for Sonic 1 is phenomenal and sets a high bar for the rest of the series to follow. The individual instruments can all stand out distinctly while simultaneously coming together perfectly. There is not a single piece I dislike from this soundtrack. They all match the levels while also finding a way to easily differentiate from one another. I may hate Marble Zone with the burning rage of 1,000 suns, but even I hum the theme every now and then when I'm sitting there waiting on blocks, or sitting there waiting on blocks. When the worst I can say about the soundtrack is that I don't absolutely love every song, that's a good sign. Well, besides the drowning theme, f that theme, I still have nightmares. The sound effects don't slouch either. Jumping on enemies is beyond satisfying, in part because of the thump sound that they give off, and while we're talking about jumping, even just hearing Sonic's jump is almost cathartic. So yeah, like I said before, the presentation is without a doubt getting a golden bolt here. Sonic 1 is clearly very rough around the edges. By all means, it's not a bad game. I think it's a game heavily damaged by Sega's marketing campaign for it. If Sega didn't go all in on the narrative that Sonic and the Genesis were the cooler, faster alternatives to Mario and the Super Nintendo, I could probably rate Sonic 1 much more highly. However, Sega set up this narrative itself and established immediately that yes, Sonic was about speed. It's clear that even from day one, the development team was on board with this idea. It just seems that they hit some speed bumps, pardon the pun, that future games would have to try and overcome. If you're a fan of platformers, it absolutely cannot hurt to pick up Sonic 1 and give it a shot, even knowing its flaws. It's dirt cheap and it's on every platform known to man. Seriously, I think that there are rocks that can play Sonic 1, I'm not even kidding. It's worth playing a little bit of the game, even if you don't beat it, so that you can get a first-hand look at a huge piece of gaming history. If you're coming mostly from a more traditional Mario-style background in platforming, you'll be in for a treat, albeit an often frustrating one. But you may appreciate the game's replayability more than I do, you never know. That said though, things do get miles better from here. You know, see what I did there? Miles is in Tails, Sonic's friend. I'm so lonely. That's one down, and that only leaves 2 more to go. Join me next time around when I tackle Sonic 2. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not hit the like button, and if you enjoyed it a lot, why not subscribe? Either way, as always, stay golden.